Field. We're going to preview San Diego State and New Mexico tonight at Viejas Arena. Elimination kind of feel to it in the Mountain West Conference for the regular season title. A little bit of an elimination feel to it, but they're all back in action. If you're on social media, you've probably been watching videos and seeing clips, seeing photos of what it is that's happening at the Peoria Sports Complex. That's where the Padres hold their spring training. It has always been a spot where we've had a lot of fun, where we've learned and met a lot of interesting people. And hopefully that is going to be the case again this year. We're going to start our show with the guest right out of the chute because we know how busy these guys are. They have busy schedules. They're running around from one field to the next field, especially if you're new to the organization. You're learning about coaches. You're learning about teammates. You're learning an entirely new system. That is certainly the case for Michael King. Michael King was part of the Soto trade, the Juan Soto trade. Michael King, Drew Thorpe, Johnny Brito, Vasquez, Kyle Higashioka. So we're going to talk to him coming up a little later on, but our first opportunity to say hello to Michael King. Lots of expectations. Everybody's loving what they're hearing from Michael King, and he joins us on the back patio of the Peoria Sports Complex. Michael, this is Darren Smith back in San Diego. Thanks so much.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
How are you? Good. You can hear us okay?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I got you, pal. How's it going?
Oh, it's great. It's my first time in Arizona, so I'm enjoying the dry weather.
I would imagine. I was going to ask, what is this adjustment like? You spent your entire professional career this time of the year. You've been in the state of Florida, right? So this is your first opportunity, not just in the Cactus League, but in Arizona overall. What are your impressions, not just of the organization, but the new settings?
Yeah, no, it's an adjustment in weather because it's freezing when I get in my car in the morning. But then when I come out here, I'm in short sleeves and I'm sweating. So I got to kind of adjust my wardrobe. But no, I mean, it's great. I got to blow into my hand a little bit to get a little bit more moisture because it's so dry for the grip of the ball. But besides that, it's same old baseball, you know?
Same old baseball. Well, a little different, like you said. Sometimes that air, sometimes you'll learn. I'm sure people will tell you about it as well. Sometimes those results there, they start to misrepresent just a little bit in spring training, both offensively and defensively, Michael. But I think the great thing too is somebody who's covered the Grapefruit League in the past, like this is just a million times better. To each their own, but you don't have to take road trips, right? You don't have to drive up and down the state of Florida. I think you're really going to like it, and I'm sure that you've had a lot of people telling you just that.
Oh yeah, everybody says you're going to absolutely love it out there. And even before I left, Aaron Boone said that towards the end of his career, all he wanted to do was sign with the team that had an Arizona spring training because he wanted to have a spring training in Arizona. So I'm definitely enjoying my time right now, and I'm excited for games to get going.
Well, I would imagine as well. What's it like getting used to a new organization?
It's definitely an adjustment. Obviously, you come in and you're almost the quiet kid because you don't know anybody, you have no friends. So I was actually happy that I had a couple guys come over with the Yankees. And then we also signed Wandy Peralta, Tyler Wade I used to play with. So there are a couple guys that are familiar faces for me. But I gotta learn my footing. I still don't know anybody's name. So I feel bad that I keep introducing myself to people I've already introduced myself to. But once we get the groundwork going, it'll be a lot easier.
Right. And aside from learning everybody's names, it's a good thing people have names on the back of their jerseys, right? Although I suspect you're not just talking about teammates, Michael.
Yep.
What just like routine wise? I mean, what like a new organization, a new way of doing things, a new voice, a new manager, a new pitching coach, strength and conditioning, right? The list goes on and on and on. Like, seems like it's pretty overwhelming. I would imagine they're not expecting you to know all of this stuff here on February 16th, but like, do you have to sort of just clean the slate and start all over again from everything that you knew in professional baseball?
No, not really. And I'm actually super grateful for that. I had a long conversation with Ruben, multiple conversations with Ruben this offseason, just about my routine. And having that communication allowed me to come in with a much better relationship with him. He understands my routine. He understands how I go about my business. So it made it a lot easier of a transition. But then also coming in with the training staff and the strength coaches, obviously they do things a little bit differently, but it's more of they know that I got to the level that I'm at with the routine that I had, and they don't want to change anything, but they're suggesting, hey, I can give you this, and if it works for your routine, then add it to the routine. If not, you don't like it, then take it away. So they're actually been really understanding of me. So Jay, the strength coach, and really I've been talking to Mark a bunch in the training room just about different routines post throwing or in between throwing that I've loved, and I've already adapted my routine a little bit to theirs.
Interesting, because sometimes you hear about players that go to new organizations and maybe not a complete teardown, but it's like No, this is the way we do things around here. That's interesting to hear. Michael King is joining us from the back patio of the Peoria Sports Complex. This has been a pretty eventful offseason, wouldn't you say? You got traded from the organization that you were primarily associated with to a new organization. You got married. You're relocating spring training for the first time in Arizona. You're looking for a place to live in Southern California. How is it just going? How is life with all of the change for Michael King?
It's great. I mean, yeah, I found out that I got traded. I think it was 10 days before I got married. So that threw a little wrinkle in my off season, but my wife Sheila was awesome about it, and we still had a blast at the wedding. And then we had to change where we were going to live. We had to figure out our spring training housing. We had to figure out our season housing. So we went through a little adjustment period, but after that, it was just really thinking about the opportunity that we both have. Even just for our marriage, it's awesome to then go all the way across the country, and I'm just stuck with her, and we're going to really learn a lot about each other and mold our relationship to the best that it possibly can be. So I'm really excited, not just for the Padres opportunity, but also with my new wife.
I would love to hear some details, if you wouldn't mind. Just a couple of the conversations. Number one, Michael, would be the conversation where you find out you're getting traded. Does that come from the Yankees? Does it come from your agent? Do you read it on Twitter? How do you find out that you've been traded from the Yankees to the Padres?
Mine actually was my agent. I think that it's because it was Juan Soto. And because it was New York, it was a really hard thing for both teams to kind of keep secret. And so there was a ton of.
We lost you there for a quick second.
Oh, yeah,
if you wouldn't mind, how did you find out that you got traded?
So I think it was really hard for the media not to be all over a Juan Soto trade, but also to New York. And that media coverage is insane. So I found out from my agent, who actually found out from Joel Sherman, because Joel Sherman got called from somebody, said, like, get a suit on. It's 10 p.m. on the East Coast. And he's like, yeah, get a suit on. You're about to come on MLB Network to talk about something big with the Yankees. And so my agent kind of knew what was happening there. And as I was watching MLB Network, I see my phone light up with a call from Brian Cashman. And that's when I knew it was fully official. And it was a quick call, just like thank you for everything you've done for our organization and wish you best of luck. And then I started getting the flood of texts and calls from teammates, coaches, friends, whoever. But it was an eventful night. I didn't get much sleep that night.
I would imagine. And then what is the conversation with you and then your fiance, right? Your fiance at the time. The chronology is you get traded, then you get married 10 days later. Then what's that conversation like?
Yeah, she's awesome because she then just flipped the switch to baseball mode for a little bit there and allowed us to really focus on baseball instead of our marriage, or our upcoming wedding, which was great of her. And I fully respect her because we took a good 2-3 days. That was whatever the week leading up to our wedding where we really had to focus on baseball. And we found housing out in Arizona. We found housing in San Diego. I had so many different phone calls with other people. So she was able to be very, helpful to me. And then we just totally switched on the wedding mode and had an absolute blast.
I would love that. Did anything have to change with the wedding? Like, was there any sort of Yankee themed party favors, anything along those lines? Or like, was that not something that you were going to do anyway?
No. I definitely had a ton of Yankee teammates that came to the wedding. And obviously I wouldn't have changed that anyways. They're going to be friends for life, those that came. So it was different because it was a New York wedding. So we just called it our send off. So it was a fun little trip.
Michael King is joining us. Michael, obviously, I think most people just feel like it's Darvish, Musgrove, Darvish, Michael King, slotted in third. You've had an interesting career. I think people are well aware of who you are and how your career's gone. Relief pitcher, starting pitcher, lots of success, most recent success there in the latter role as well. Have you always looked in the mirror and saw yourself as a starter? Or is this something now like, hey, new opportunity, new organization, maybe they see it a little bit differently. You know what it is that they really favored about you, or was this always the case? Did you always look in the mirror and say, hey, listen, this relieving thing is good. I'll do it. Teamwork, team guy. But, eventually, I want to be a starter in the big leagues.
I definitely always wanted to be a starter. I felt like I had the demeanor for it. And I was able to get through the minor league system with the stuff that I had. But then once I got up to the big leagues, I got exposed because all I really had was a sinker. Didn't have the four seam that I have, didn't have a slider at all. It was a really bad slider that I had. And then I had a command of a changeup, but it still wasn't a great changeup. And I think that I got exposed as a starter when I first got called up. and then moved to the bullpen and really had to fine tune my stuff. And as soon as I was able to develop my arsenal, I was begging to get back in that rotation. And it's a tough rotation to crack over there. And I guess unfortunately for the Yankees, but fortunately for me, we had some injuries that opened up the door. And I was knocking on Boone's door the whole time, asking for it. And I was really grateful that he gave me that opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, and there's no real shame, right? Like there used to be an era of baseball where if most pitchers were starters at one point, and it's like, it's not really going to work, so let's move this guy into the bullpen. There's no real shame in that anymore, right? Like bullpen guys make a lot of money. Guys are drafted out of college as closers, as relievers, so it's completely changed. But you never settled in and said, all right, I guess this is what it is. I guess I'm just a relief pitcher in Major League Baseball. That's how everybody sees me.
Yeah, my role was also weird over there because I would flip a lineup. I'd go 3+ innings at a given time, and I loved it because it was always high leverage. It wasn't like the mop-up duty that I feel like some people will be kind of given that tag. But I was able to get 3-inning saves that were actual 1-run ball games, and I felt like I gained the trust of Boone to lead me out there for 9+ hitters. I felt like I was able to really be able to work to lefties and righties. But the main thing was actually, which is funny, was Corey Kluber. Corey Kluber helped me develop it was the Kluber ball that now I think everybody's coining as the sweeper. And I know he was an anomaly when he first had it, when he first came up and won those Cy Youngs. But when he taught me that in the middle of 21, that's when I felt like my arsenal really took shape. And then I was able to fine tune it in 22. Unfortunately, had the injury, and then and was able to get the opportunity in 23.
So lastly, when you're in the Yankees organization, the Yankees are truly one of those sports franchises that year in, year out does live by the World Series or, everything's a failure philosophy, right? Whether that's right or wrong, I've been around it a little bit, Michael, in my life. And I certainly grew up around it. And I understand the way a lot of people are wired around that organization. Is there anything different? I know you just got here, but is there anything, that you've noticed in terms of expectations inside of the Padres clubhouse early on? I mean, we're not even to the full squad yet, but is there anything different in terms of expectations that you've noticed about expectations in 2024? People might look on the surface and go, well, they traded away Juan Soto and Blake Snell's not going to be here and Josh Hader signing with the Houston Astros. So, clearly they're talking about a double-A player potentially playing the outfield. You tell us internally, do you sense that there are high expectations with the Padres for 2024?
100%. And I also think that's really driven from the players. And we felt the pressure in New York because that's just how it was. And you come over to the Padres, and that's what I'm very thankful I got traded to a team that's still competing, because you look in the locker room and there's not just the money that was spent a couple off seasons ago, but the talent that's in the locker room and guys that you're going to need to have production from your younger guys. And we might have a little bit more of that influence throughout the year this year. But the main core group of guys that are here that are the uber talented guys that should be putting up 40 bombs or giving us 20 wins, it could be a really special season. So I see that the determination from our current players that are on the roster still give me the World Series or bust mentality. And I hope to add to that.
I mean, and a guy like Joe Musgrove, I would think, tell us what kind of tone setter he is early on for you. Again, I know you're just getting to know everybody and their numbers and everybody's names, but it certainly has always seemed to me like Musgrove, at least amongst the pitchers and potentially amongst the position players as well, is a tone setter in the clubhouse. What's it like? Just what's it been like being received by him?
Yeah, he's awesome because he's a guy that treats everybody else like they're the 10-year veteran, but also is the guy that's in there that's going to outwork the rookie that's really trying to break camp. So it's fun to have a guy like that isn't just super talented and is just going off of his own skill. He's actually fine tuning it, and not only that, he's trying to help all the younger guys out to then help the team because he knows that we need it. So it's great to basically have two aces, and my locker's right next to Darvish's too. So I've been talking to him a bunch, and I mean it's going to be really fun to not only watch them throughout the year do their business, but also then learn from them and how they've had all the success throughout their careers.
All right. Well, hey, good to chat with you. Now, these are the spring training caps. We're also streaming this for people who are thinking that they're just listening on radio. This might be a weird question. Those are the spring training caps here. They're sort of like yellow goldish.
I think so. Yeah. I don't know.
Boy.
Yeah, you can see the 24 logo there. So yeah, it's a little flashy for me, but I like it. I gotta break it out a little bit.
I like it too. I mean, we're always going to know where Padre players are anytime they're out there on the baseball diamond.
Exactly.
For sure. If you guys wander off into a field somewhere, it won't be too hard to find anybody who's drifted off from the Padres. Michael, congrats on everything that you've had going on this offseason. Thank you very much for taking the time to join us, and I hope we get a chance to do it again.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it.
All right, you got it. Michael King, everybody, starting pitcher now with the San Diego Padres, who, again, according to everybody who has talked about this trade, has said this is certainly one of the players who the Padres are going to be relying on regularly throughout the season. And that whole conversation about being a relief pitcher, starting pitcher, etc. Good on Michael to say, hey, listen, I sort of really wasn't qualified to do that sort of stuff. That's a position where you got to have multiple pitches. Starters, relievers, you can get by with one or two. You can't really get by with one or two when it comes to being a starter. I mean, most can't. Most mortal pitchers can't. There are rare exceptions every once in a while, right? That was a conversation we used to have about the Nelson Lamet. Can he just